the weather. My name is Jeff, although professionally, that's true, I do go by Jeffrey. And sometimes this causes a little bit of confusion because people will ask me, hey, do you prefer to be called Jeff or Jeffrey? To which I say, truth is, I don't even pay attention. It does not matter to me. So if you've ever known a Jeff or a Jeffrey that you didn't like, call me the other one. Because we've all known one, haven't we? I mean, maybe it was that Jeff or that Jeffrey who used to pull your hair in second grade, or that guy who beat you up for your lunch money at work last week.
Yeah.
There is, however, one circumstance under which I am always Jeffrey and never Jeff, and that's when I'm on the phone. Because if I'm speaking to an agent or an operator and I tell them that my name is Jeff, there's a 50-50 chance that the name that they hear is Chip. Now, I mean no offense to anybody out there tonight. If your name happens to be Chip, I just want you to know that you have the stupidest name on the planet. When I was younger, I had no idea what to do with this ridiculous hair of mine. I didn't know what I wanted to do, how to style it, how to get it cut, or anything like that, so I just left it alone. I ignored it. And after a while, as you can imagine, I ended up with these long, luxurious, flowing locks of hair. And you can imagine it, right? No? That hurt? But the joke that I used to tell at that time, since I was just leaving it alone and it got long, was, hey, I figured if I ignore the problem long enough, it would go away. And then it did. When I was younger, around 9th grade or so, the big thing that was going on with all of the young ladies in my classes, they all had these enormous bangs covering their heads. And I remember in 9th grade one time, one of those girls was trying to make fun of me. She was teasing me. And so I just said back to her, you know, I just gotta say I really love how you use your bangs to cover up your lobotomy scar. She got really mad at me. You know what she said? She said, stop using those big words. After all, why use big words when diminutive verbiage will suffice? When I was younger, well, here's the thing. I suffer from anxiety. Does anybody else out here suffer from anxiety? Okay, so we got a couple of you that are willing to admit it. That's nice. But it was way worse for me when I was a little kid. It was all my parents' fault, because here's the thing. They meant well, but it just kind of always came out wrong. So I'll give you an example. When I was 3 years old, my father decided it would be a nice, fun thing to take me out to a drive-in movie theater. Now, for those of you who might not be familiar, a drive-in movie theater, it's an outdoor theater. You park your car, wait for the sun to go down, you watch the movie on the screen from your car, which, by the way, is the only acceptable movie theater you can take a 3-year-old to. So he brought me to see the Disney classic Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. But the problem is, he got tired before the movie was over and he wanted to leave. Well, in fact, I say he got tired. In reality, he had finished his six-pack. And this was in the 1980s, keep in mind, so believe me, drinking and driving was most definitely illegal. But mostly, it was just kind of frowned upon, assuming you're white. Oh. So we saw Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and if you want to give your 3-year-old anxiety, do exactly what my dad did. Show your kids Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And right at the end of Act 2, when Snow White takes a bite from the poison apple and falls down dead, turn the movie off. Put your kid to bed. No. You don't need a bedtime story. You just watched a movie. Good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. No, I promise there's no monster in your closet. I promise. Uncle Sean's in prison upstate now. And as if to double down on this anxiety that I was already having, by the time I was 4 years old, my mother decided to tell me, Jeffrey, you are allergic to dirt. To dirt. 2 problems with this. Number 1, I was 4 years old. I did not know what an allergy was. For all I knew, I thought that Snow White was allergic to apples. Number 2, there is dirt everywhere. Everywhere. So you can just imagine being a 4-year-old, seeing this 4-year-old kid with obsessive compulsive disorder, constantly washing hands like he's Lady Macbeth, saying, out, damn spot, out, I say. But hey, at least I was clean. Although it didn't occur to me until just a couple of years ago. I was sitting in my car at a stoplight, lost in thought, which, by the way, don't think and drive. lost in thought, and I suddenly realized that my mother just didn't want me to get dirty anymore. She was sick of cleaning me and didn't want me to get dirty anymore. So, fortunately for me in my teenage years, she never did look under my mattress. So I'm 43 years old now. That means that I'm in an age where younger people in their 20s, even teenagers, they look at me and they just say, oh wow, you're old. But older people in their 60s and 70s, they do not look back at me and say, oh, you're so young. There's only one circumstance under which I will ever be called young again. And that's in my obituary. Assuming I die soon. I'm attempting to avoid that. I'm making healthier choices in my life. I've been exercising more, ate a lot more salads. My favorite salad dressing? Cheese Whiz. Oh, laugh at that if you will. Say what you will about Cheese Whiz. It's not as bad as it sounds. Two things. Number one, there's no actual cheese in it. That's why they're legally required to misspell cheese on the label. Number two, and this is true, Cheese Whiz has properties that will help the body to stave off cancer. Absolutely true. That's why I got a jar of it every day with my morning cigarette. And yes, I am a filthy smoker. I actually hand roll my own cigarettes. I used to smoke cigars. The problem with cigars is they take a long time. You gotta set aside an hour if you're gonna have a cigar. But if I hand roll my own cigarettes, I roll them pretty thin. And they usually take me maybe 60 seconds, maybe 90 seconds tops. Because as my wife of 15 years will tell you, I am terrible at commitment. However, given the fact that I am middle-aged now, as I mentioned, 43 years old, I have something of a sense of my own mortality. However, I do not have any belief in an afterlife because I am a born-again heathen. Anywhere out there? Okay, so we got a couple of you, that's nice. However, it did occur to me, what happens if it turns out that I'm wrong? Because if there is an afterlife, I am definitely going to hell. So it's made me think, what would my own personal hell look like? What would hell look like for me? And after some thought, I realized that it would look like this. It would be a small, cramped, enclosed waiting room with the door locked and a big screen TV on the wall with volume on high, endlessly looping prescription drug commercials. They come up with the weirdest name for these things. I can't even think of any of them. But the problem is they're legally required to list all of the side effects. All of the side effects. And this is where it drives me nuts. Side effects may include hair loss, weight gain, weight loss, hair gain. Oh, maybe I'll take that one. Vomiting, diarrhea. These are not things that sound very pleasant. Occasionally, a slight case of death. Do not take if you're allergic. Really? Ask your doctor if dihydrogen monoxide is right for you. Those of you not aware, dihydrogen monoxide is water. Thing is, I used to think that I was a hypochondriac. But then it turned out that the symptoms were psychosomatic. What many of us do not remember our ninth grade vocabulary words, I see. My wife's been on my case a lot lately about my drinking. She thinks that I've been drinking too much, and it finally came to a head, and she told me, if I don't find a support group of some kind, that she's going to leave me. So I did a little research. I finally found the right group for me. It's called Alcoholics Unanimous. And we meet at Final Draft Brewery. Every once in a while, as people get to know me, they tell me that I have a tendency to come off as overtly abrasive. That's the term that they use. It's overtly abrasive. Which I can only say, I have no idea what you're talking about. You stupid troglodyte. I don't know about you guys, but I personally had a really good pandemic. I never got COVID. You know why? Because it turns out I was already socially distant. However, with everything going on, I did begin donating blood. And I started doing that once a month, but eventually they kind of cut me off and I'm no longer allowed to donate blood. So the problem is the recipients kept ending up high, and their offspring had red hair. Is anybody out here tonight a fan of astrology? No fans of astrology? You know what? I'm just going to skip that joke.
I
Yes, you are a fan? Okay, what's your sign?
Capricorn.
You're a Capricorn. Awesome. Capricorn. I have no idea what that means. However, if you know about astrology, you do know, here's the thing, I'm a Scorpio. So, you know what that means, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you not familiar, fun fact about Scorpios, none of us believe in astrology. When I was first going to college, I'm an avid reader, and so I realized that I wasn't going to have a whole lot of time to actually do any of the reading that I wanted to do, so I went out and bought myself a book about speed reading, and I studied it intensely. And somehow, the second half of that book just flew right by. I want to take a moment to talk about some current events. One of the most recent things that I've seen, you may have seen some of this if you've looked online, Martha Stewart is right now on the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, which is amazing. She's in her 80s. I think she's 81 years old. She looks fantastic. And it occurred to me, I think that there is such a thing as multiple universes, an infinite number of multiple universes. And so if that is the case, and anything can happen, there's a universe where I'm married to Martha Stewart. That being the case, if there's one universe where Martha Stewart and I are married, there's probably a several thousand where we're divorced and I'm rich.
Yeah.
The other thing going on in the current events is the statue of David, Michelangelo's statue of David. This is a 500-year-old statue, part of the Italian Renaissance. Now the controversy is there are these mothers in Florida that are really upset about the statue of David. And the reason is because the statue is nude, and so he's got his bits out. Thing is, if you've seen the statue, he's not especially impressive. It's one of those things, I figure that I myself, if I were going to pose nude for a statue, I might at least stretch out a little bit first. I can only imagine that Michelangelo's apprentice had the original chiseling to do on it, and so he went, boop, boop, whoops. And Michelangelo said, no, darn it. Well, I guess he's not going to be Italian anymore. We'll just have to make him English. Now, I just want you all to know that that is not in any way intended to be a racist comment. All that I'm saying is in Italy, you have a Mediterranean climate. In England, it's cold. So as I'm closing things up, I do just want to take a moment to say thank you all once again for coming out. This is my first time headlining a showcase event. I'm really excited about that. I want to give you a little bit of my story. I took my first stand-up comedy class with Dan over here, who's been the host. I did that in January. Okay, in February, I went to my first open mic event, and that was the first time that I ever got up on stage and performed. By March, I went to the Hen House for an open mic night, and I bombed. And it was bad. It really affected me. But I got back up on my horse a week later. I went to that same place, the Hen House. There was a contest to get up and do 5 minutes of stand-up. 9 comics came out. I'd only been doing stand-up for 6 weeks. Somehow, I got second place.
Yay.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Now, the person who got first place, I will admit, is a porn star. But I will be honest that she absolutely deserved to get first place. So that was back in March. By the time it was April, just last month, I did my first showcase, and here we are in May. I'm headlining my first showcase, so it can happen quickly. And I want to mention to you, if anybody else out there thinks that you can get up here on stage and just tell some jokes, talk to this man Dan. He's got classes coming up. Talk to him about it. Take a class. Come to some open mic nights. There are open mics all over Reading and all over the area right now that he was talking about. Give it a shot, okay? And one of the things that happened as we were getting towards the last class is that Dan told us that as stand-up comics, we need to have some goals in mind for what it is that we want to do. Now, I couldn't really think of any goals just yet. I didn't know where this was going to end up taking me. But I thought about some other kinds of goals, some like long-term goals that I can try to get to. And so I'd like to use achievable goals, but still big ones. So here's the first life goal that I decided that I was going to go to. This is the one that I find that will likely be achievable. I would like to outlive Sylvester Stallone. Now he's in good shape. He's still working. He's doing a fantastic job, but he is 40 years older than I am. I think I got the edge up on him just a little bit. I think this is an achievable goal. So then what would my second goal be? Well, I'd rather make it a touch more challenging. I'd like to outlive Tom Cruise. Now again, he's in great shape. He's in better shape than I am, but he is 20 years older than I am as well. So I think that I've got the edge up on him, as long as it doesn't turn out that Scientology's right. Then finally, here's the one where I'm really reaching. I don't know if I'm ever going to make this one, but it's worth a shot. My big goal, the final one, I would really like to outlive Mick Jagger. That would be fantastic. Okay, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. We're going to hand this back up to Dan to close us out. Thank you again.
All right, give it over Jeffrey Taylor. Hey, hope you had fun tonight. We're going to need this again on our